Don't. Well, I mean, you don't have to put it on me, but you can hand it to me. You can slip it in my pocket. You can just transact it into my bank account.
Someone just needs to believe. Just needs to believe. Speaking of which, Ted Cruz has said it's absolutely necessary for us to be funded.
Yeah, I've heard that. Space Force.
Yeah, Space Force. You've heard about us on Chapo Trap House, Pod Save America. Probably come up in Google articles. Everyone's talking about us.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Ted Cruz. It's absolutely necessary to fund Space Force because we need to fight space pirates. And I'm not necessarily against piracy of any kind.
But if I get to fight a space pirate, I'm for it.
I don't think they exist yet, but I get
we don't know. Are you familiar with the dark forest theory of space?
No, I'm not actually.
Are you really? Oh, it's like the answer to the Fermi paradox. That Chinese writer, the three body problem, kind of confronts the same idea. And basically, the idea is, the Fermi paradox is that life should be abundant in the universe, and we should have encountered an intelligent civilization at this point. Mm-hmm. The dark forest theory says that we can't trust other civilizations, and so the goal is to remain hidden as long as possible
until we're ready to defeat
essentially
others. Yes.
I mean, that's like this is a really truncated version, much like my explanation of the Civil War, but
that's even
still accurate.
Even Stephen Hawking had that belief a little bit, where he's like, "Yeah, I don't think we want to find other life."
Oh, he felt that way about robots too, right?
Yeah,
like, well, we don't want no AI.
Well, and I mean, so far things aren't looking good for what AI is gonna be doing for us.
We talked about this a little bit. It's like the Jurassic Park thing.
It's also the same thing like with GMOs, where cool, it should lead to abundance and everyone will get to eat and it's great. But the fact that it's owned by like 3 major corporations who control everything and
and the Chinese government.
Yeah, design plants that kill other plants and stuff.
Oh, we're talking about GMO, not AI.
Yeah, so it's like, what? No, it's going to be terrible. Same thing with AI. It should lead to abundance. Like, no one will have to work. It should be utopia.
Yeah, I read that that idea too back in like the 1920s, and here we are.
Yeah, and then luckily Cyberpunk existed, where it was like, what? Are you fucking dumb? Are you fucking dumb? This shit's going to be terrible. Well, that said, yeah, this is Space Force. We're popular with Republican politicians for some reason.
They obviously have not listened to the podcast.
Yeah, they just want us to fight pirates.
I am the kind of man that you want to fight a space pirate.
I can fight people, I guess, for money. Mm-hmm. Why not?
Or fame.
Prize fighter.
Nah, not really. I don't give a shit about fame.
If it leads to
money,
cultural significance,
I don't care about
fame.
Either.
I want to be like James Connolly.
Dead?
Yeah, but dying for a good reason. Everyone will remember me as a martyr. Speaking of which, I think last weekend was like the 103rd anniversary of his execution. Because the Easter Rising was 1916.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I guess it would be.
I think it was like last weekend. Forgot to mention it. Sorry, James Connolly's ghost.
Don't haunt us with your clovers and shamrocks.
No, he didn't want that shit.
Oh, wait, yeah.
he was all about socialism.
I remember that song.
He was hammer and sickle guy.
Is it Dubliners? Is that?
No, that's like the Saw Doctors.
Okay, thank you.
One of the more modern Irish bands.
Sometimes I sing old Irish drinking songs to court because she hates for some reason she hates the Irish accent.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
That's weird. Like, yeah, a lot of people that like have been around me, like especially around Christmas time, I'll listen to Irish music a lot, and like girlfriends and stuff. I was like, oh, I just hate the way it sounds. But to me, it's like, what do you mean? It's like,
fuck you.
These are the greatest melodies of all time. This is how people are supposed to sing.
As I went home on Friday night, as drunk can be.
That's 2 geranium plants me mother left for me, but they're not. She's
they're
cheating on
boots.
them. She's, man.
It's many a day I travel.
Poor Ronnie Drew. Ronnie Drew getting cheated on. His best song is the one that's about the famine. Shane McGowan actually wrote it, but Ronnie Drew sings it. It's like The Sands or something like that.
I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember a single word.
Yeah. It's one of the... it's one of the ones where like it starts off like, oh, here's all the horrors of the famine, and then by the time you get to the end, it's like, and I shot the bailiff and the landlord. It's like, all right, cool. Right on, man. Those are my beliefs too. So I'm Kyle.
I'm Sean.
What are some of your honorifics?
I don't have any.
I'm Kyle, aka Kizza, aka Lance Low Cash, aka Money Short like Muggsy, aka Teeth like God's Prison Shank,
I don't think anybody gave you this.
aka Chorizo Addict.
Also, I feel like your love of chorizo is just because it tastes a lot like linguiça.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. But also, kill cops turn them into chorizo.
The only thing I ever got, like, in elementary school, the kids called me Dumbo, but I grew into those ears.
Oh, yeah. Even our sisters used to make fun of our ears when we were little, though. Because they were oversized. But now they're pretty normal. Because the rest of my head grew. Yeah. So, what's some other big news aside from we're finally going to get funding from
Ted Cruz.
From the government.
My dreams have come true. I don't...
Yeah.
I have no worries anymore.
Yeah, everything's good now. Hakuna Matata.
Speaking of Disney, did you see the like a little Aladdin preview? I saw like maybe a 6-second clip of Will Smith singing.
You ain't never had
Prince,
a friend like me.
No, like the Prince Ali song.
Oh, I always liked that song.
Yeah,
not good.
No, I mean like the part, like the reason I liked it is like you have Robin Williams sing the song, and then like the genie's like morphing into other people and like doing a little commentary. That whole commentary part is cut. Will Smith is not doing voices.
Oh,
I like Will Smith a lot, and he has like a lifetime pass from Fresh Prince. There is a reason when they're remaking The Lion King, they just recast James Earl Jones as Mufasa. It's really hard to follow that, and I feel kind of the same way about Robin Williams' performance as the genie. He's basically a living cartoon, anyways.
Yeah, like why don't they just have Robin Williams do it? Also, the fact that he's like a CG character, anyways, like they
have he has a couple bits where he's actually there.
Oh well, I mean, they could have just used all Robin Williams lines from the animated Williams. Or you know what they could have done?
They're just doing it anyways. Like it's just almost a shot-for-shot remake is what I've seen so far.
What they should have done is just not made it.
These live-action Disney movies are so lazy.
You mean these copyright extensions?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Mm-hmm. Copyright extensions, which brings me to actually a really important quote I wanted to read. So I'm about to quit my job, and it's making my brain much more active. So I'm like, I'm not like suffering under the yoke of capitalism so much right now. I am still, but I'm about to be free of it for a couple months. So I've been refamiliarizing myself with some philosophers and things like that I've always been interested in and stuff. This is a good.
The poet philosopher George Carlin.
Yeah, the beat poet George Carlin. This will be like a full mask off episode. I'm sure it's already been apparent, but I am like radically left. So we'll just get into some theory real quick. And I was reading this, and I feel like it's something I've talked about on the podcast, but I haven't been able to express it exactly what I meant, like as regards to Marvel Cinematic Universe, Game of Thrones, basically the industry of culture, which is what Theodore Adorno was very critical of. I'm going to read a quote from him now, which encapsulates my feelings about the problems with popular media. And it's, amusement under late capitalism is the prolongation of work. It is sought after as an escape from the mechanized work process and to recruit strength in order to be able to cope with it again. But at the same time, mechanization has such power over a man's leisure and happiness and so profoundly determines the manufacture of amusement goods that his experiences are inevitably after images of the work process itself. The ostensible content is merely a faded foreground. What sinks in is the automatic succession of standardized operations. What happens at work, in the factory, or in the office can only be escaped from by approximation to it in one's leisure time.
Just a quick aside before we actually break that down. Philosophers have a huge problem being able to talk to regular people, and it's because they use words like approximation.
Well, I actually really like the way he writes. Obviously,
that's actually not bad compared to some other philosophers. But that you can simplify that.
Well, yeah, so he's from the Frankfurt School, which everyone on the internet hates because postmodern cultural Marxism, that made up shit.
Yeah.
But really, it's because most of the people in the Frankfurt School were Jewish. So people on the internet don't like them.
Yarmulkes.
Yeah, because they're Jewish. Yeah, it's anti-Semitism. But they do use the dialectic method, essentially, is like how most of them wrote, was using dialectism, which is just a way to debate, honestly.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, but yeah, it could be simplified into layman's terms, but I guess which is what we're going to do right now, because I want to explain how I think it applies to these things I'm hypercritical against.
It's like Fist of the North Star. Let's go.
That is what we watched, and we're going to get to it. I'm going to bring up like another concept that I think... I don't know. Well,
Let's talk.
Are
we gonna talk Game of Thrones at all in this? I really don't.
I mean, all I have to say is, I did like the cinematography of episode 5. I feel like it was one of the only times I could see a unique visual language. It was just Michael Bay, but at least like,
I mean, there's some more to it than that, but there's a lot of like,
it was in the school of Michael Bay,
that's
so
for sure.
to speak.
Especially the weird horse scene at the end. There's a lot of Christian imagery that I think this particular director throws at it.
Yeah, Miguel Sapochnik or whatever.
Yeah.
He seems to be a competent director. He's directed other episodes that I thought were incredibly bland, but
like didn't you direct the Long Night episode too?
Oh, he might have. I don't remember, but yeah, no, I thought this episode looked cool. I really liked the practical gore effects that they were just throwing in everywhere, like seeing people getting like their face chopped off. Which I forgot I missed the ultra violence because all they've been fighting is CGI cartoon skeletons. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the funny thing is they could do practical effects for a lot of like the elites, right?
Well, when the library scene with Arya in episode 3,
that was practical.
Well, yeah, the practical, like where she stabs.
And a lot of the for the first few seasons, the zombies, the weights were all practical.
Yeah,
effects.
but then
whatever.
They were just like,
there's a lot of problems with this show, and I'll say this for the Dany transition, like. If Madness is a 12-step program, and I said this to you, she was maybe on like step 5 or 6, and you know, Tyrion was acting like she was on step 10, and as soon as this episode starts, they just pick her up and move her right to step 12.
Yeah, just because they had to get there. You know?
Yeah,
like,
it's no logical progression here. Yeah, they foreshadowed it, but okay.
Yeah, that's not like development of the story. We foreshadowed it. We let you know we were gonna do it, and then we just did it. So cool, we let you know, so it's good. That's good writing, right?
Now let's talk about how Game of Thrones just shows us work.
All right, so yeah, we'll get back to this Theodore Adorno quote. The quote could be misinterpreted as saying like the content of the show itself is a reflection of everyday work, which obviously isn't the case for Marvel or Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is
a little bit. Yeah, I mean,
The Office, Parks and Rec. Miracle. There's so many things that are...
You know, my biggest one is Superstore.
Yeah, so many things are just an approximation of the...
Who doesn't want to work in retail?
Bureaucratic capitalist mechanization, right? Some of these direct translations of that make you like feel comfortable about your shitty office life because, at least there's a cute office somewhere, you know? That's why so many people are obsessed with The Office, I think.
I mean, there's some clever...
It is funny. I'm not...
I fucking hate office life. I've always hated it. I don't think any real offices ever really look like the Office TV show.
No.
But there's some clever shit going on.
But that's the whole thing is... So that probably wasn't their original intent to glamorize office life in some way. But it is... It is this picturesque fantasy of an office, and that is reinforcing...
And it really just goes to like
the cultural chains of
and like people just aren't critical enough of stuff like that.
Yeah, which the Game of Thrones, once again, people like just let people enjoy it. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, you need to criticize your media. Like, I'm sorry that being challenged about things is like so absolutely taboo these days. But like
it's taboo. It's scary and it angers people.
But it doesn't matter. Like, you need to be critical of the media you're consuming and what its intent is, what its accidental result is, that sort of thing. So as this applies to Game of Thrones and the Marvel Universe, I've said it before, I think TV shows these days are just treadmills, right? They just want to keep you on the treadmill so you'll consume more products and that sort of thing, which is a direct reflection of capitalist mechanization, right? So Game of Thrones is just this factory output, you know? And so people have been having problems with it recently because the writing got glaringly bad enough. But the writing has been bad for a while. And the way the show's even produced in all TV shows is this is the industrialization of art. Like, it doesn't even... The film and music and TV shows all these things don't even need to be art anymore. This is just utility exchange. You know what I mean? It's just the industrialization of art. It's just, here you go. This is a product we've created. Please continue to consume this product. And then, okay, everyone's disappointed now at it at the end, but it doesn't matter. They already made so much money off of it. And
I mean, it does matter. I mean, I guess.
But does it?
Well, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. I mean, to me personally, it doesn't matter one way or the other whether someone else enjoyed it, but it does matter to the industry, right? Because they're trying to make 1,000 more Game of Thrones shows after this, right?
Right, but that's just the continuation of the industry,
right. But you said that it doesn't matter that people are upset about it now, and I'm saying that it does because it does affect the bottom line.
Oh, maybe they won't make more money off it going forward. Well,
I think that's a separate argument.
Yeah. My take on that, even though, is it doesn't matter though. Whatever the next thing is, they're just gonna mass produce that as well. Like, here you go, just consume this product we create. Okay, well, people really like the emojis, so we'll make an emoji. You know what I mean?
That movie did real well.
They made money off of it. Absolutely made money off of it. So yeah, there's always been bad TV shows and blah,
there's
blah,
always
blah.
been. I mean, TV shows historically have never had any value. I mean, go back and look at the history of TV. It's always been that.
Right, exactly. I'm not saying you'll never see me say that there's value in television shows, because I absolutely do not believe that there is.
I mean, they're few and far between, but yeah.
And they'll, of course, once in a while, they'll try to drop in like little messages maybe that, oh, well, here's a political idea, here's a social theory, or maybe, here's some liberal thought that's sprinkled in, but everything always returns to the status quo, you know what I mean? So Disney, all they want, can have us go to Canto Bight and hear about how terrible the 1% are. But then the status quo is going to return anyways. As soon as you walk out of Disney, it's like, oh, I felt really good when that major corporation told me how to feel about major corporations. So they're just reinforcing their power over society, I think, a lot of times.
I mean, I guess.
And the thing is, obviously, the writers of Game of Thrones, as bad as they are, they didn't initially set out, I think, to reinforce capitalist, liberal philosophy.
Well, no, I mean, the show itself isn't necessarily doing that.
Well, I mean, it does, strangely, reinforce feudal society, though.
Right.
The only people we care about in this story, and this is true of the books, too, are these important lords. There's a few characters that are bastards, and it's like, well, I guess they're somewhat of an outsider, but it's still a concept that reinforces the importance of so-called important people.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to. I mean, it's hard to argue against that in any context. I mean, can you think of a show that shows you just regular mundane people, or any artwork that really does that? I can think of a few books, but certainly not a lot of movies or TV shows. Like, even the people they present as normal are like extraordinarily normal. You know what I mean?
Well, in TV shows, everyone's always very privileged. So like, even like Friends, right? Friends are supposed to be just normal friends hanging out or whatever, right? But they have these amazing apartments in New York.
They made some, like, Monica's grandma owned that apartment. It's rent controlled, and they're living there illegally. That's the whole...
Yeah, which is cool. They lampshaded that in, like, 8 seasons in or some shit.
I think they did it in the first season.
Yeah, but I know they always just established, like, oh, yeah, this is how normal people live, and if you're not doing this, then, hey, man, just work harder at capitalism. Go on, be a good poor. You stop being a bad poor. You have you need to have an abundance mentality. Not a scarcity mentality. These are just some thoughts I've been having. And yeah, like I said, and as you asked, yeah, TV, you're not ever going to see TV characters that are just mundane, strictly mundane, normal, outsider characters that are challenging the
I didn't even argue that people don't, that the reason you don't see that is because people aren't interested in it and they don't want to see it. I mean, it's for mass consumption, and largely people... Right. Aren't. It goes back to what we talked at the start of the beginning, is people just aren't critical enough of the media they consume. Well, and there's really not anything you're going to be able to do about that. You can't make people want to think more about this shit.
Right. So, your question about there being art content that does challenge those norms. Actually kind of does apply to Fist of the North Star in a certain way, and we'll get more into the history of anime in the 80s, but Cyberpunk is absolutely the answer to your question. Because Cyberpunk is always the outsider that is trying to disrupt the machine, escape the machine, that sort of thing. And Cyberpunk's not the first thing to do it. There's tons of art movements, Dadaism, things like that are challenging corporate neoliberal ideas. Neoliberal is obviously more recent, but there's resistance to fascism in the early 20th century. And, there's always...
And we talked about that, like, martial arts movies.
You're right, and martial arts movies absolutely reflect the outsider or someone of a lower caste finding justice for the people, and that's why they resonate so well with minority communities in the United States. Right, like Wu-Tang Clan. Why is Wu-Tang Clan Wu-Tang Clan? Why do they have all these references to martial arts movies? Because that spoke to poor black people in the United States.
Plus, the kicks are cool.
Yeah, and I mean, martial arts is dope.
We're not talking about Fist of the North Star.
We can get to it. So that's my major point. This is just something I've been thinking about, and I wanted to bring up and talk to you about it because I'm always a major proponent of outsider art in general. I like outsider art. Before we started the podcast, I like art that's confrontational. I told you that. The thing that made me start thinking about it is Game of Thrones being bad and people getting upset about it. But there is an element of it where, yeah, it's just kind of not what I expected, and it's a letdown. Not people being critical of the fact that, well, it never was actually that good. It didn't have that much artistic integrity, as the books themselves do. And I'm sure I sound like such an elitist, pretentious douchebag, but there is artistic integrity to the books because there is a political message within the books. These are fully developed characters. There's social commentary.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think it made perfect sense to have Cersei, largely the villain of the entire Game of Thrones,
I guess,
have a romantic farewell with her brother before she died.
I was happy to see Lena Headey, and also I got to commend her on getting apparently $1 million an episode for this season.
Oh shit! To do nothing.
She stands in that window drinking wine, and she's got maybe like 15 minutes of screen time. Like, you get it. Like, that's fine. Like. Yeah, and I don't have any problems with actors or set design. Art direction, for the most part, is fine.
Music
Costume's
we talked
fine.
about.
Music's fine. The cinematography and direction is really bland, but it's TV. And
sometimes it's like there's moments that have some flashes, but that's it.
Well, the way TV operates is very much industry.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, you don't know how many seasons you're going to get. You got to do contract negotiations every season. You don't know if you're going to be able to get the same directors back. A director can't commit to do multiple episodes. Can't be written by the same team because you don't know if you're going to have the same staff writers. And this is all just bureaucratic industry, So that's why TV sucks. That's why capitalism sucks. But speaking of capitalism, we will now somewhat transition to Fist of the North Star because we're going to talk about the economic boom in Japan in the 80s. Japan is doing great in the 80s.
Plastic Love.
Hell yeah. Japan is making tons of money. This is the first time they've been, like, economically viable since World War II, essentially, because we fucked them up. But
yeah, they fucked themselves up.
I guess, yeah, but like, they fucked themselves up by making a bad choice by attacking, but I'm not saying Japan are heroes in any way in World War II or anything like that.
Oh, you mean when they invaded mainland China?
Yeah, and we're just as terrible as Nazis and act like it didn't happen still today. And they also have, like, the most, like, ethno-nationalism of any country in the world. Yeah, so Japan's not the greatest or anything. But, I don't know, after we firebombed the shit out of them, if we should have also dropped 2 atomic bombs on them. And then also sanctioned the shit out of him afterwards.
I don't know what the right answer to that.
I mean,
like, how? Well, you can try to have a nicer peace with a country after like World War II, but then we tried that with Germany in World War One. Like, really, what should have happened after World War One? We should have broken up Germany into its
Prussia and Bavaria.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if that would have been the right choice either, though, because World War II happened because of, like, the economic failing of Germany. Really, which was because of the Treaty of Versailles. Yeah, but obviously they had to scapegoat it. But
We're getting far
Yeah,
from this.
no.
Whatever.
Anyways, Japan's doing great in the 80s, man. They're selling cars to the Americans that Americans are
they're
loving
gonna
them.
crush us.
They're making so money electronics. There's just tons of money pouring into Japan.
Sony.
And the animation boom is taking place in Japan in the 80s. This is really the kickoff of anime as a viable sort of industrial product. But at this point, I'm going to say it's not completely industrialized yet. It's getting a lot of independent financing. And the fact that otaku culture does not exist yet.
When did Fist of North Star come out? 86?
86.
Okay. Yeah, I would say it's probably a couple years away. Because 79 is really, to me, when anime starts to take off.
Like
That's
Gundam,
when, that's when Hayao Miyazaki's Lupin movie comes out. That's when Gundam comes out.
Castle of Cagliostro?
Cagliostro? Which, the opening of Fist of North Star reminds me of that, but I like Lupin better.
Well, Fist of the North Star is not on the same artistic level as a lot of the other animes of the same time period, because Akira is going to come out 2 years after this.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like, Akira is way different than Fist of the North Star. But I do think it represents a very interesting time in Japan that is directly in opposition to what we were just talking about with the mechanization, capitalization, and industrialization of art in the United States currently, or worldwide. In that there's a lot of money going into animation, but there is no one in control of it, and they basically are like, let's see what we can do with animation. Like, there's no limits to it. Like, it's gonna, now people look at it and it's gross, right? Because it's hyper violent, hyper masculine, a lot of it's grossly sexual. Like, I watched Ninja Scroll this week and I was like, oh yeah.
Ninja Scroll.
But that, I feel like that would be, it is an interesting sort of like period for especially a majorly capitalistic, money driven culture like Japan, even in the 80s, where they were like, you know what, let's just experiment with animation and see what we can do. Like in Fist of the North Star, they spent money on studying anatomy for their animators and all these sorts of things, so that like when they did the gore effects, like you'd actually see like realistic intestines and brain matter coming out and stuff. Major thing you may have noticed though is when it had its first theatrical run, they got a lot of complaints about how gruesome it was.
Gore effects.
Yeah, so you'll notice that there'll be random filters put on it, and the pan will change, so it's zoomed in or off center a little bit.
Yeah,
that's them retooling it so it's not quite as violent. You know, like how Scorsese had to have the ending of Taxi Driver be black and white.
Yeah. So, or Kill Bill Volume 1 had to do black and white, right?
Yeah. And apparently there was a rumor for a long time that there was unedited reel. Obviously there had to be, because that's
at
what
some point, right?
aired in theaters and aired in parts of Europe. But I guess there was a fire at the studio, and presumably that completely unedited footage was lost. But then apparently there was a trailer for an Italian print of it in the 90s that had unedited footage in it. So someone's like, well, there's got to be a reel for that one somewhere, and no one knows where it is.
It's like all these, there's all these like lost movies, and they always turn up in like some janitor closet.
Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, it sounds like Toei, the company that made Fist of the North Star.
Toei Animation?
Yeah, they might have actually got a hold of that reel and like
destroyed it.
Not destroyed it, but like they just act like it doesn't exist.
Oh, just like Disney and Song of the South?
Mm-hmm. Which is weird, because I don't think it was anything particularly offensive. But the gore effects they left in and what you can see, like, I'm sure it's not like the best, coolest, most awesome shit you want to watch, but unless you're weird like me, and it's like, oh, that's metal as fuck. But I don't think it would be that offensive to modern audiences.
I mean, like the gore they had left in, I guess it's extreme. But if it's not that bad, really.
No, it can't be.
It's more comical and campy than anything.
Yeah, which is what's great about this movie. Like I watched Fifth of the North Star 2.5 times. So it is bad, especially the dub. Did you watch the dub?
I did watch the dub, because that's how I would have watched it. When
it was like on Sci-Fi Channel and stuff. It's a bad movie. It's just walk around beating up guys kind of anime. which, you know.
It's like a martial arts cowboy movie. Kind
Well,
of.
he's dressed like Mad Max, but he's supposed to be Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
That's his move all the time. So many fast punches.
All the bad guys in this, except for like Shin and Rao, they look like rejects from Road Warrior clans, like the same Road Warrior clan.
And also the scale of these men.
Oh, I love that part. I think
insane.
that was intentional, right?
Well,
it seems to change.
Some of it's inconsistent, yeah. But well, even when it's like seemingly normal sized dudes, like say our hero Ken, they only in the dub they only call him Ken, but his name's like Kenichiro.
Mm-hmm.
But when he rescues the little pink-haired girl for the first time, and she like stands up, and it's like, presumably she's like 8 to 10 years old, right? Can you imagine an 8 to 10-year-old that only goes up to like your knee? How tall would you be? Like 9 feet?
Well, the other thing too, like time-wise, I'm not sure like the time frame of the war because Lin and Bat were alive before the war, right?
Yeah.
And presumably years have passed since the war, at least a couple of years. We know a year at least has passed since Ken and Shin's fight. When he first meets Lin. So how many years ago was this nuclear war?
Like only like 10 or so.
Yeah, it has to be less than 10.
Yeah, a lot of it. I think they. Well, you can tell that they just rushed through a bunch of different volumes of the manga, right? Because it's like every 15 minutes he's defeating a new what would have been a villain for a run of the manga, you know.
Right.
So I think a lot of the finer details didn't make it into the film. Because what they really wanted to do is just show
gushes of blood,
fucking awesome karate dudes punching the shit out of each other. I love my favorite thing is so like they'll just like punch the shit out of someone and then they'll seem fine and then no, their head explodes.
Right.
Just because like the power of whatever martial arts they're doing, the Fist of the North Star.
Yeah,
it's unstoppable. Yeah, that's the first thing. Of course, this is a Japanese film. For some reason, they never got over those atomic bombs being dropped. So they a lot of media is about nuclear war, and so
my favorite's Godzilla.
That's how Fist of the North Star starts. There's some pretty gruesome people melting.
Yeah, that was one of my first notes.
Yeah, which looks really cool. I like when the guy's eyeballs like fall out, but then they like disintegrate before they like leave the frame. So they did some cool animation with all this gore. It's interesting to think about what if Fist of the North Star would have popped off instead of Dragon Ball Z in the Western world.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Well, they wouldn't have been able, because there is a Fist of the North Star TV series that comes out in '88.
Yeah, but it's not as violent as this movie, right?
It's still pretty violent, more than Dragon Ball Z. And
well, I mean, Dragon Ball Z had some parts that were cut from the U.S. release, like where they punch through people and shit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it wouldn't have been able to air in the United States, I don't think. And if it did, it would have been so sanitized. And because it doesn't have like the quite as fantastical nature of Dragon Ball Z, like all the different aliens and different characters and stuff. Fist of the North Star is just a bunch of presumably Japanese dudes walking around punching the shit out of each other. Some of them bigger than others.
Some of them bigger from one scene to the next. My favorite bit is when Rao is gonna fight that other army, and the one dude's like, "Aha! I've turned myself into steel." And then they start fighting. He's like, you think I'm afraid? I don't believe in no magic. Magic is bullshit. Even though he just fucking turned himself into steel.
I wanted to bring up the same exact thing. Yeah, because he just did magic.
Yeah, motherfucker.
Like, what are you talking about?
Like, one of us doesn't understand magic, and I'm pretty sure it's you.
Ken and his brothers, do you think they actually are biological brothers, or just because they're like the same dojo?
I think it was the same dojo thing, although Ken and Rao do kind of look like each other.
But Jaggy doesn't. He's got blonde hair. He looks like the Fist of the Southern Star.
Yeah, he looks like Shin.
The American voice actor for Ken, every time he says Shin, I thought he was saying shit.
Shit.
Yeah, so there'd be times like, shit, get up. It's like, oh, okay. So when they introduce Rao and Jaggy, they're up on the cliff just watching Ken get murdered.
shit kicked out of him by Shin.
And Rao's like, all right, cool, this is my time, I'll be the best.
I'm the Fist of the North Star, no.
Jaggy just seems like a little bitch, so he's like, he seems to have so many different motives in that scene. Because he's like, well, we gotta help him, he's our brother. And then he's, afterwards, he's like, nah, I'll kill him.
I'm just gonna throw him down this cliff.
And then when he comes back later, it's like they had that altercation that caused Jaggy to have his head all fucked up. And he's like, yeah, I never liked you, I want to murder you the most. And it's like, well, I wanted Rao to save him. And...
I kind of feel like he just wanted Rao to fight Shin.
Oh, because then he become the Fist of the North Star. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because he's got statues up of himself, like he's the Fist of the North Star. You think Rao...
Even Masquerades is the Fist of the North Star. That's how Ken and Ray meet, remember?
Yeah, and you think Rao would be like... Nah, you did. You did, sucker. But in that scene, he's just got bandages on his head. So,
yeah, he's holding his brains in.
Yeah, with bandages.
Mm-hmm.
His head looked pretty messed up. I don't know if bandages would take care of that.
I mean, I actually assumed that he already had those metal bits and stuff in place. Used the bandage to cover it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't have his cool mask yet. Mm-hmm. He didn't want people to see how grody he was. But then, so one of his henchmen does remove his, like, I guess his sleeping shroud, so people don't have to see his groaniness. And I like that they animated him like getting physically
retching,
sick.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, he's fucking gross. But he doesn't actually look that gross as far as like anime characters. You know what I mean? He's just got some metal shit on his face.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
His head throbs.
Actually, as far as hideously disfigured dudes, I've seen worse pictures of Doctor Doom.
Yeah, his face is all melty.
Yeah,
or Spawn. He's a hamburger head.
Doctor Doom is a little inconsistent because sometimes he's been drawn as perfectly handsome with just a little scar, and sometimes his face looks fucked up.
What do you think they'll go with in the MCU?
I hope they go with him being perfectly fine, just having a little small scar.
Really?
And it being all in his head.
Oh, that'd be an interesting concept, that it's psychological more than anything. I was thinking if we're going to go for it, he takes his mask off. It's the most gruesome shit a 10-year-old's ever seen.
It's like ass face from The Preacher.
Yeah, or a lot of people like, oh, what was the disturbing image you saw as a child? And they'd be like, oh, when they opened the Ark of the Covenant in Indiana Jones and like scarred children.
It just looks like halfway melted.
Yeah, they just do that with Doctor Doom. Like, yeah, you kids will never forget this Marvel shit. His melty face. I don't know if Doctor Doom is ever going to show up, honestly.
Oh, he definitely is.
No, I think
they need to make that money. It's going to be a few years, but he's going to show up.
I think they're going to run out of money. Disney's gonna have
that's the funniest joke you've ever told.
Disney's gonna have to sell them to Fox. Yeah, they're actually at the point like there's no way that they're gonna,
not unless IP laws change.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, yeah, they're not gonna stop. That was like Disney's like, oh, we're gonna take a break from Star Wars, and by that they meant like a year.
Yeah. Star Wars presented by the writers of Game of Thrones,
D.B. Weiss and David Benioff. Who, you know what? You look at those two dudes and you're like, yeah, you guys look like you fucking suck. Also, one of them, father is the head of Goldman Sachs. So,
oh, fuck him and his dad.
Yeah, I think he's the same one who said themes are for 8th grade book reports.
I mean,
Well, I think.
I mean, I guess like if
based on him being the son of the head of Goldman Sachs,
yeah,
and seemingly just being like a kind of a bro-y business degree type guy, I'm thinking he probably is one of the people that doesn't like the Frankfurt School and their critical theory of literature
because of the yarmulkes.
Yeah, what I'm getting at is I could easily see him being an alt-right bro on the internet. Like, oh, what does Count Dankula have to say about Game of Thrones? We gotta make Dany turn into a crazy woman.
She's a lady.
All queens are crazy. Cersei, Dany.
You know what really pushed Dany over the edge is when Jon her own nephew didn't say that he loved her.
Yeah, he wouldn't give her that dick. That's what she needed. That's all she needed was a little dick comfort. Because
I will say that anybody that expected like Eddard Stark's son to
be okay with
incest is a little off the rocker. Like if you thought this is how the books were going to end with Dany and Jon in a happy marriage, I mean,
I don't think anyone actually thought that.
Yeah. Well, no, there's plenty of people that's their theory. I've read Westeros.org.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even that was mostly like book readers, right?
Oh, that is, yeah. But there's still some people that think that how that's
Like, there's gonna be that like fairy tale ending.
a couple people. I definitely have read it.
That's pretty wild.
I mean, again, this is back when you was first reading the book, so like 15 years ago. But shit, more than that maybe. God damn, these books have been out for a long time.
Yeah. And then good thing they finally were finished. I love the ending that George R. R. Martin wrote. Apparently, they had a falling out.
There's a shock.
In like season 4 or 5, and like that's why he's super distanced himself from the TV show, because he's like not about it. There's actually some pretty choice quotes where he's like, "Yeah, I don't know, they just kill everyone left and right. There's like 20 characters they killed that are gonna be alive in my book that are important." So.
Well, I mean, the Septa Baelor. I don't think that explosion's gonna be in George R. R. Martin's book.
Oh, I actually do think... I'm not sure Cersei's going to blow up the Sept specifically, but I do think part of Cersei's downfall, which is going to happen way before any...
Yeah, she'll be dead by the time the last book comes out,
yeah.
guys.
I do think it'll have something to do with people freaking out that she fucking blew up part of King's Landing.
Yeah, maybe. I just feel like that was their way of wrapping up a bunch of characters and plot lines they don't want to deal with anymore. Basically the same thing that Stephen King did in The Stand.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And they also like got themselves in that position anyways. Because they just like didn't manage any of the characters that were involved in it. Like, why has Loras become like a member of the Faith Militia? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, whatever.
Also, Loras is gay, so he can't be a warrior. I hate Loras in the show.
I hate almost all the like. Jamie is very different. Cersei is actually very different in the show. Like, I don't know.
I remember when the show was announced, like the summer beforehand, and they were doing casting and stuff. I was like, "Fuck, man, Loras Tyrell. He's the coolest character in the book. I got to get to England. I'll be Loras Tyrell."
You do not have the look to play Loras Tyrell.
I just need to shave.
Nah.
Well, now I'm like way too big, but it was different back then. But yeah, no, Loras Tyrell is one of the coolest characters in the book, I think. And then in the show, him and Renly too. We're just like, yeah, they're gay guys.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, they're gay boys. Wow, cool, right? We're so progressive. We put gay characters in it, and you know what they do? Gay stuff.
They are gay in the books too.
Yeah, but also Renly's like charming and funny and strong as his brothers, and
Loras is like
the best swordsman since Jamie.
He's like the new Jamie. And,
yeah.
The thing that really bothered me, and when I knew that this was going to be a problem, the show was going to be a problem, is in the books they don't ever actually come out and say that Loras and Renly are gay and gay together. It's just heavily implied, like everybody knows it. But in the show, they couldn't figure out a way to have that implication, so they just show them fucking.
Yeah, they just have sex. Yeah, awesome. And then they didn't even have Loras' cool quote when Renly dies, and he says, "Once the sun is set, no candle can replace it." Because he's all about like he only loved Renly, he's done. No more like crazy shit. All he's gonna do now is kill and fight and be the best. In the show, he's like, whatever. My boyfriend died. I guess I'll just start banging chicks. Yeah. They just. I think
there's one other part.
They don't understand their characters. They don't seem to understand real human beings. They seem to just put in like this completely.
They have a very surface understanding.
Yeah, and they have like a really surface understanding of like
motivation,
inclusiveness.
Oh yeah, well that's just like the Avengers movie and their gay character.
Yeah, right? Like what? Yeah, it's getting to the point where this shit's getting offensive. But like I said, it's a part of capitalist industry. Fucking liberal solutions to society's ills, where it is just all kind of like quaint, pandering, and pointless. Like you don't know you're on a leash if you sit next to the peg all day. You know what I mean? Anyways, Fist of the North Star, not about inclusiveness at all. I do think that they probably don't like women. Because basically she is a prize to be won, and whoever is the strongest, coolest guy, whoever's got the coolest bike and can get laid all summer long. Because that's basically what sets off the whole movie.
Is shit out of cannon.
He's like, hey, I'm gonna kill you and take your woman, because She's awesome. She's apparently the only woman in this wasteland because we don't see anyone else except for the little girl. I think.
No, there's other women. They're just not as pretty.
But yeah, they don't have red hair.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh, she appears nude at the end too.
Yeah,
and they did not.
Itty bitty nipple committee.
Yeah, I was gonna say they didn't know how to animate nipples yet or something. Her body looks really weird. But her body's like so aggressively sexualized though.
Yeah,
like her proportions.
Well, so are all the dudes though. They're all buff as shit.
Hell yeah, man! I like that. They're not only buff as shit, they inconsistently buff. Like there'll be scenes where it's just like their biceps, like the entire
their biceps
frame.
have biceps.
Yeah, it'll just the entire frame of a shot, like bigger than their entire upper body. Like that Rob Liefeld picture of Captain America. Where
well, no, that's like just like one peck is bigger than the other. I mean, at least their scale is, can change from scene to scene, but inside the scene, it's consistent.
Yeah, that's true. yeah. So basically, this is just the coolest movie ever made.
It's not the last dragon.
Obviously not. It's a really bad movie, but I wanted to bring up.
You are already dead.
I think you'll be the one who dies. In fact, I know it.
Oh.
Yeah, right? He does that. Wow. He just makes shapes with his hands in slow motion.
and turns people
and his arms fall off. I like when his arms fall off.
I like how he like, do these belong to you? And he tosses them at him.
The editing they did to hide some of the gore, I actually think it makes it seem more experimental and interesting.
Oh, it does, yeah.
I'm like, whoa,
the cuts.
Yeah, like if I didn't know, I'd be like, damn, this is some next level shit. But no, it's just them avoiding gore. But I did want to bring up George Bataille. Fell in love with the first cute girl that I met. Could appreciate George Bataille standing at the Swedish festival. Discussing
Story of the Eye.
Story of the Eye. Anyways, George Bataille has...
I'm trying to figure out where this is going. Go.
Oh, George Bataille is a weirdo, right?
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite philosophers. He was really concerned with eroticism and transgressing taboos and things like that, which I find very interesting myself. But he has a concept called limit experiences.
Oh.
So usually in him, he's talking about... more sacred experiences like sexual experiences, abject pain or trauma, blah blah blah. But he also extends it; they can take place in art, and so I wouldn't say Fist of the North Star is high art, but there's something about them pushing the boundaries of what was acceptable at the time for animation or just violence in general that I feel like is similar to lived experience, because the base concept of limited experience is just that when you're introduced to a new philosophy, you have a few options. You can completely reject it,
which is what I do with all philosophy.
Right. You can neutralize it and then accept it, so you make it palatable, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. Or you can bring it into yourself and let it have some effect on your current outlook, or let it have an effect on you. Take it for what it is analytically. You're not just gonna immediately, oh, you know what, I believe in fascism now. Limit experience.
I'm pretty sure I've met plenty of those people. They're all on Twitter.
Yeah,
and some of them follow Ben Shapiro.
I think a lot of them were just like, Minecraft's cool.
Gamers Rise Up.
But I'm 13 now, so I need to get into the real shit. And my favorite YouTubers are all vaguely alt-right, so that's what I'm into now.
Follow McVenture Productions on YouTube.
Yeah, like, oh, I just gotta be so edgy. There's actually, in my dealings with the far left internet, there's a lot of like just edgy idiots there too that don't really understand.
There's two of them in this room right now.
They don't understand philosophy. They don't have. I don't know. I don't want.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
fuck it, man. No one's gonna hear this.
It's like, oh yeah, you gotta listen to Chopper Trap House and read theory, and then all cops are bastards. And it's like, well, I agree with you with all cops are bastards. Can you formulate your opinion or explain why you think Venezuela's great? And, you know what I mean? It's just like, no, you guys are just like throwing out the same garbage memes that the far right does.
Just from the other side.
Yeah, just to be provocative in some way. Which there's a benefit to provocation for sure and agitation. Like I said, I like that in all forms of art, even just in social communication. I think it's beneficial, but you gotta have some substance behind it. And a lot of time, it doesn't seem like they do. It seems like they're just also regurgitating memes.
That's all communication is these days.
It seems like it, right? Because, like, oh yeah, I was watching the post Game of Thrones stream that like Alt Shift X does.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
And he was talking like someone. You gotta like pay money to get a super question or super comment on YouTube so that he'll answer the question. And someone did that about what his thoughts are on how Danny's Switch is sort of a spit in the face of feminism or whatever. Which I think it's a weird stretch to apply modern political views to this industrial capitalist shitty TV show, which is already like kind of weird anyways. Very lib. But as soon as someone asked that question and he responded to it, suddenly all the chat filled up with feminism is cancer, feminism is cancer, feminism is cancer, and people just kept repeating that. And it's like, fuck, you did it, man. You conquered feminism by repeating the same line. You and some other 15-year-olds all just got together and decided that's what it's going to be. And to me, that's the biggest failing of modern society and its art.
Feminism is cancer?
No,
just the sloganization of the...
Yeah, just everything is a meme. Everything's a brand.
I guess. To a certain extent, that's all kind of how all... communication has been throughout human history. Like, it's just gotten worse and worse as you know, the internet and media has grown. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of
it's so pervasive,
right?
now.
I mean, but like, if you go back and look at previous political fights, even going back to like the Revolutionary fucking War.
My Adorno quote is from the 40s. So.
Yeah, like there's some it's always like slogans. There's just people throwing slogans at each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, it's just gotten worse.
Well, you know what? ACAB, bash the fash.
Those are that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but those ones align with my political beliefs. So, but yeah, at least you gotta like come with your new ones. Like I was like, fucking kill cops, make chorizo. Like fucking put that on a shirt. God damn.
Coming soon to an Adventure Productions store near you.
Oh yeah. Oh, so anyways, that also goes back into limited experiences. Anyways, you've noticed people don't want to be challenged at all, right? We mentioned like you can't even be critical of media now because people are. I
have seen, like you've talked about it, but I've seen so many people like, why can't you just enjoy Game of Thrones, even as bad as it is? But it's true. Like you see that in everything.
Yeah, like everything. Oh, the fan base turned toxic, and well, no, like sometimes things get bad and people start to criticize them.
Yeah,
even if they're good, you can still be critical of things. It doesn't negate its distance or your enjoyment of it.
Right. That's the thing that people. I think people seem to take criticism as automatically this means that the thing that you're criticizing is bad and terrible. Like, well, you can have perfectly constructive criticism about shit.
Part of it might be that people have invested way too much
of their self-worth in this.
Yes, because they feel personally attacked if you don't like the same things they do. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, sometimes you like things that are bad. A lot of
subjective.
People
I mean, opinions are subjective, guys.
Yeah. But a big thing, though, people don't like to be challenged on their opinions. And I think people don't like to have limit experiences, which I think actually might be important for internal growth. I'm not saying go out and watch Serbian film, because that's, I mean, I've seen it a few times myself, but I do like chasing grotesquities and things like that. That's not for everyone. But what I am saying is sometimes if you push yourself to the edge of what you've decided is acceptable, like that's all that exists in your personal philosophy and world sphere, push yourself to the edge a little bit and be open about it. Sometimes it can expand your understanding and make you a better person, more satisfied. And to be so rigidly attached and conformed to products that are being made by the culture industry, like it's I think we talked about this last time. I do think this ideology is dangerous, which is, I know it's weird for us to say because we host a 80s nostalgia pop culture
We've been pretty critical about the movies we watch,
but we are very critical about the movies you watch. And we do tend, or I tend to pick movies specifically that exist outside of the studio systems that existed in the 80s, things that were maybe independently made, because most movies we watched are independently made shitty horror movies. And so,
I mean, I just kind of pick any 80s movies that I remember watching as a kid. That's what I've been doing. But I mean, there's some stuff that crept through, like The Last Dragon is not your typical. It's still one of my favorite movies.
And not typically financed for the time.
Right.
I mean, it was Motown Records that made it, so it is. I'd say what you will about Motown, but it is, and it was an especially unique voice at the time, which is, even if you get some...
Shit, man, you can release The Last Dragon right now and it would still be an especially unique voice.
Yeah, I mean, there's not shit like Last Dragon.
There's not I mean, like, how many... there's not a lot of pure movies that are predominantly black, right? Black Panther, there's Tyler Perry's works, and then...
Get Out,
and Us.
Us, yeah. Well, that's even, like, Tyler Perry's works and some of the other movies that are... directed at a black audience are so low effort and pandering. Like they seem so disingenuous to me. I know I'm a white guy, so I can't say that definitely. But when I see trailers for What Men Want and shit like that, I'm like, this was not made through the passion of a black writer or black artist. This is some 60-year-old white guy put his stamp of approval on some product that they're like, hey, we can maybe make money off of this. Black people go to movies, right?
I mean, to a certain extent, it's true of some of it, right? But Tyler Perry has his own production.
Well, yeah, at least Tyler Perry, I mean, he is his own boss sort of thing, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those movies are pretty crappy, but that's true. They're not much different than the Ernest movies.
That's true. Yeah.
I can still enjoy them for what they are, but at the same time, they're not good.
No. Tyler Perry's cool, though. Like, I like when he is in other movies and just being, like, an actor. It's like, oh, yeah, he's a pretty good actor. And he's talented. I don't know. It's, like I said, it's not for me to decide. I'm not a member.
I mean, you can have an opinion of it, but I don't.
Yeah, but I can't. I don't think it's fair for me to have a
opinion on
a cultural critique that would be stemmed from my connection to that culture, because
that's different.
Yeah, like, I'm white, we weren't necessarily raised in a all white environment or anything. There's a plurality where we lived, and I have familiarity with black culture from people I grew up with and stuff, but it's like not the same. It's not for me to make that criticism, I think, because I don't have the innate understanding. Not to say it's innateness, though, because I don't really believe in essentialism. But, there's the familiarity.
You didn't grow up.
The familiarity is not there.
Just to talk about one little bit about Fist of the North Star, there's one scene that I have to get your opinion on. Like, when they, what's her name? Julia?
Julia.
In the dubbing is
the
Julia.
main babe?
Yeah, when she's captured, right? Mm-hmm. Lynn and Bat break into the dungeon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like they have any plan other than to see Julia and then leave, right? They don't have any way to actually help her escape. So what the fuck is the point?
I don't know. There's a lot of this movie just seems to be you're running around and events happen,
Yeah.
Like
a lot of, and then this happens, and then something else going on, and this happens.
Well, even Ray's whole storyline, he comes to rescue his sister,
and then he's hanging out with Lynn and Bat.
Yeah, and then so where did his sister go?
We don't know.
His like village or whatever was destroyed, right?
I assume she's hanging out with Lynn and Bat's kid or family.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, it's just like whatever. This happened and then this happened. He's just riding in the back seat now. And he's like, "Don't go too far, kids."
Yeah, worst fucking babysitter.
Oh, I love when Rao's horse is the one who's he's like, "Whoa, I can sense her power," and it like looks angry. Like, damn, that's a smart horse.
The thing that's crazy to me is they only have this like special kid, and Ken is said, "Oh, I only know another person like you, and I'm in love with her."
Yeah,
but they're like, "All right, go off and run around. We don't have to keep a special eye on you."
No, I mean, there's only two of you that we know of, and we really want to rescue the Earth, but, we got two of you, so we can risk it. There's a 50-50 chance.
Like, the other thing, too, is, like, all these road warriors are running around, raping and murdering and killing and robbing. Why are you letting your kids run around without supervision?
Yeah. Well, he's got a car. Yeah, that's just wild. Also, I like that, Fairly early on, they established like wealth is meaningless. Like 'cause
Yeah.
the first like
Well, I mean, the real wealth is food.
I guess commodity changes, but they're like a bunch of jewels and dollar bills on the ground, and it's just a bunch of dudes eating beef
Dog
jerky
food.
and stuff. Like
Yeah, dog food.
would say, all right, so now you get it. This is the real wasteland. Things have changed. God damn it.
It's like when the first time I read The Road and they found those old dried up apples. I'm like, yeah, fucking A, apples.
Fucking apples. Or when they got a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
A Coca-Cola. That's a good book. That's a good movie, too.
I haven't seen the movie.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
It's got Vigo in it.
Vigo.
Vigo Mortensen. And it's directed by John Hillcoat.
Yeah.
Who, The Proposition.
Oh, I got a proposition for you.
He's friends with Nick Cave.
Oh, I got a proposition for Nick
It
Cave.
seems like anyone who's famous from Australia is Nick Cave's friend.
Mel Gibson?
No, not Mel Gibson. Kylie Minogue, though. They did a song together.
Can't get you out of my...
Kylie Minogue. Boom, boom, boom. Kylie Minogue.
You're just Kyle.
Kyle Minogue. Kylie. Kylie's a slang term for a boomerang. I think I said that before on the podcast. I don't know. That's just funny to me. Australian slang's cool. Julia dies.
No, she doesn't.
When she like disappears,
Yeah.
and then at the end he's like, "Oh, Julia made a forest," but then she's like not. I don't know. I think she's dead. She's like a wooden nymph, ghost fairy lady now. She's one of the she.
She's chilling in the forest.
Yeah. She's a banshee.
Oh no, the wailing the banshees.
Oh,
And that's
the
not coming
banshee.
from my soul.
She's a vanguarda.
Does our family have a banshee?
No, it's only like the 7 major tribes or whatever, like the O'Neills and stuff like that.
Oh, is the O'Shaughnessy's not one of the 7 major tribes?
No, man, it's like
What were they, one of the King of the North or some shit?
No, it's like the O'Briens, the O'Tooles, the O'Neills. There's some mixed in there. I don't know. The Lynches, Connolly. I don't know. Ernesto Che Guevara Lynch. You know that famous quote from his father is, "In my son ran the blood of Irish rebels." It's Patrick Lynch, one of like the mercantile chieftains of Galway, went to Argentina back in the day, and he's like the great grandfather of Che Guevara.
Che Guevara.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, I guess. I just always like that quote, like within my son ran the blood of Irish rebels. They have like a mural in Derry of Che Guevara.
I mean, if you have Irish blood in you, basically within your blood runs the blood of Irish rebels.
Not if you're Ulster. You goddamn.
They're not real Irish.
You goddamn landowners. Get England out of Ireland. All right, you're going to jail now, Mary Lou McDonald, leader of Sinn Féin. So, Fist of the North Star. We didn't talk about it that much. We talked about it from a really broadly external level. We didn't go over the plot too much, but I think
There's not really a plot.
Yeah,
I mean,
I also think I'm kind
Babe
of.
got stolen. There's a nuclear wasteland. Some dude's gonna save his babe.
Yeah,
and she's got special magic tree powers.
Yeah, and they punch each other a lot.
Yeah,
It's
there you
violent.
go.
It
I
looks
recapped
cool.
it.
It's real cool. It's 80s
It's
ultra
got
violent shit.
Fountains of blood shooting out everywhere.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of done with the format we've been using, where we just go over the plot, anyways.
We'll just kind of randomly talk about bits we like. And
Yeah, it's more just like what the film inspires in me philosophically and stuff. Now I've been dreaming a lot too much lately.
I don't have any dreams anymore.
I feel like my brain's popping off just because I'm so like I'm not gonna have to work in a little bit. I didn't spend any time thinking about what we were gonna watch next though, because I was too busy thinking about.
I didn't think about it either. I don't know if I have my list with me.
Oh shit! Oh, we could watch the first Muppets movie. It's about to be its 40th anniversary.
Didn't that come out like '79 though?
Yeah.
I guess we can do that. It's up to you. We don't really do well with comedy movies.
Oh, that's a good point. There's a lot of broader messages in the Muppets movie though.
You want to watch another Arnold one? Watch Commando.
I don't know if I watch Commando.
What about since you said the Muppets, what about Dark Crystal?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Dark Crystal in a really long time.
All right, let's watch the Dark Crystal one.
Jim Henson doing spooky stuff. I guess it's not that spooky. It's just kind of surreal. Well, it's watch Fist of the North Star though. I'll challenge yourself a little bit. Watch a Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, I can. You can if you want.
The animation's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do remember liking the animation.
That's the thing though. So I'm willing to like transgress taboos and confront like sexual violence and things like that in art. Not to say there's any merit to it, but I'm like willing to confront it and see how it makes me feel, and maybe how it like reinforces my negativity towards sexual violence, that sort of thing. But that's one of those things where it's like, no, I can't like ever recommend like, yeah, just check it out, see how you feel about it.
Yeah,
it's like, no, like,
because what if you check it out and you're like, yeah, I kind of dig this,
or like even if it is you have any trauma associated with it, or you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So that's a rough one.
Yeah, I watched it. Watching Ninja Girl once is enough for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I enjoyed watching it again, but some of it I didn't. It was a different time, I guess, in 1994. Oh, I did watch mid-90s this week, though, the Jonah Hill movie that he directed. It's pretty good.
Again, I haven't watched I don't really watch a lot of modern movies unless my kids want to see them.
Oh, your kids didn't want to see a gripping character study drama set in the 90s about a young boy dealing with his family life and finding a new group of friends?
No, but they're pretty excited about Detective Pikachu.
Actually, I was strangely hyped for it before it came out.
And the reviews started?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's probably exactly what I expect anyways. I just thought it was going to be like cute Pokemon jokes and stuff. So that's fine. After I spent this entire episode railing against the industrial
You're like, oh, cute Pokemon!
Oh, Pikachu, I know him. He's cute. I enjoy that product.
Oh, Pikachu, I choose you.
I enjoy that product from Japan.
Space Force.
Space Force. I don't know. Is there anything to talk about? We're gonna do a live stream after Game of Thrones tonight, but
you won't know about that.
Will come out Wednesday, so it'll be after it happens. We got a website that's got links for YouTube, Twitter, other stuff. I'm about to quit my job, so I'm gonna go real hard in the paint that is the internet. I'm gonna try to be real inflammatory, agitating, see what I can do, just get shit popping off on Reddit. Probably not though. I actually really can't stand Reddit.
I have trouble with the internet in general these days.
Yeah.
I grew up assuming most of these people were trolls, and it turns out they actually believe what they're saying, which means they're not trolls.
I think a lot of them don't believe what they're saying still, even if they think they believe it. This is like next level epistemology really sort of stuff. But like, they're like temporarily convinced of these ideas, but I don't think they've put enough thought into it, or really, especially because the user base of Reddit is like 17 to 25 or something. Not to say, oh, you dumb kids, you don't know what's good.
I don't know, man. Like I age 17 to 25. I knew what was going on. I wasn't going on the internet like, yeah, black people and the Jews and women are the problem. I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I mean, I had a kid at 25.
Oh, that's true. But I just mean more people's philosophies.
They're not kids; they're just dumbasses.
Yeah, but they can be fluid and change over time, though.
That's such a weird change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so
that's so dramatic. Like every time I see like reformed neo-Nazi or like skinhead or racist, I'm like, yeah, I guess
I can get it from a certain time period of being a skinhead. Or skinhead specifically, because if you're a disenfranchised white boy in the like 80s, early 90s, and like that's just kind of what you got into, because similar to like mid 90s, the movie I watched where he just ends up with these skaters that they're good kids, but they get into trouble and blah blah blah. Same thing for like young skinheads. I feel like you can get away from that as you get older, because you're probably just like, man, I was just hanging out with assholes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess.
But it is different now, where they are employing a lot more like deeper indoctrination, it seems like.
Yeah, it seems like they've taken it to another level than what it was in like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
it's different than what. I mean, there's still indoctrination going on even then. That's what. Yeah. That's fucking stupid ass Ed Norton movie.
American History X?
That's the one.
Why is that stupid? Because he just goes back on everything he learned?
Well, I guess they don't set it up. They set it up like he might be, but yeah, that's kind of.
Well, that said, just be careful on the internet. The internet does seem to be not the cause, but the accelerant for a lot of things.
Don't be careful on the internet. Be angry on the internet.
Oh, yeah.
Fight back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, get angry. Bash the fash. You know what it is. Be careful the media you consume. Like, just stick to weird 80s movies that we recommend. Don't watch any of this modern shit, man. It's creeping in.
Unless we do a bonus episode with some modern shit, then watch that.
Yeah, but hopefully they'll still be sort of like
I don't know. We talked about doing
know.
Into the Spider-Verse, which is basically exactly what you started off railing against.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, don't worry. We can solve the problems of capitalism with good feelings in most animated films, to be honest, or most modern media. So even if it is like, obviously, Into the Spider-Verse is about accepting who you are, accepting the world you live in, how you can
Themes, Kyle, are for 8th grade book reports.
how you can choose to help other people, all the different levels of response, all these great positive ideas, and the people that wrote it and put all the actual work into it, I'm sure they believe these concepts or whatever, but these concepts aren't helping anybody, and all you're doing is making money for Fox.
Sony.
Oh yeah, Sony. Fox doesn't own shit now. Disney owns Fox now. Fuck you, Fox. I don't know. Disenfranchisement has gotten to like it's a solidified apex level in my mind. So.
You've reached a zenith.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, this is it. Well, that's Space Force. I don't know. I don't know if every episode is gonna be about all this crazy shit, but probably because it's like where a lot of my concerns lately. So whatever. I'm just being honest on the internet on my podcast. What's up? All right, Space Force, McVentureProductions.com. I'm Kyle, aka Kizza, aka Juicy K, aka I couldn't think of any more. I was trying to think of them as we were doing the podcast.
That's all you got.
Yeah, Kizza is the best though because it's like RZA and Jizzy, one true alphabet. It's knowledge, zigzag zig, Allah, Kizza. I think that's my fucking Snarl Marks, aka Snarl Marks.
Is that still your Twitter name?
No, my Twitter one is Kizza now.
Oh, is it?
With some pentagrams. Check that out, everybody.
I'm Sean.
AKA Daddy Bigfoot. AKA I don't know, I'll think of some more next time. It'll be fun.
Great.
Alright, Space Force.
Space Force.